It runs in the family: storytelling, media, and maybe a little flour. I've always loved creating, whether it's filming a story or baking something for the people I love. But I started to notice something. These passions didn't just start with me. They show up in my grandparents, in my mom, and even in generations I've never met. So I wanted to ask, where did this come from? And what does it mean for my future? Since I was little, I have loved baking and cooking with my parents and grandparents. I even recorded making blueberry muffins when I was 6.
We need to have 10 tablespoons of butter and melted for 1 minute. We'll need 4 eggs and put one at a
My mom is where so much of the story begins for me. When I was little, I was always by her side in the kitchen, stirring, pouring, and learning without even realizing it. Later, when I reached 5th grade, I started discovering my interest in media and M2 News. She was the one who encouraged me to try. She helped me see that creativity could live in many places, in food, in filming, and the way we share our lives with others.
Okay, Dada, what are you doing?
I'm making spaghetti.
What did you make the other night all by yourself?
Hello, salad.
Jell-O salad? Who's my good little cook?
Let's go.
Whenever we think of family, you think of gathering around a table and enjoying a wonderful meal. And I've loved being able to carry that talent into my own life. My husband and I really love to bake and to cook, and as part of that, we do that with our kids. And Kaylana has really enjoyed picking up little recipes like her grandma's chocolate chip cookies, or learning some of her own Filipino culture. That's part of that curiosity aspect of things as well. And then when I think of media, technology has always been a big part of my life. My parents always had a video camera in hand, especially my dad, to capture all of those really neat moments in our lives. And I'm so grateful that he did, because it's a great piece of our family history that we can look back on and see events and really cool things that we're able to then pass on to future generations. And then I got over here to Mary Hill Midtown, where we were in Apple Distinguished School, and I took off from there. I used a lot of technology in my own 5th and 6th grade classrooms, but then I moved into the technology department a few years ago, and it's been a big learning curve. I've really loved learning to teach technology in a way that helps support literacy in the classrooms, collaborates with other teachers, and it's just really a lot of fun to get to know students in kindergarten through 8th grade. And as part of that, I've helped create our M2 News, which is our news station. And that's kind of carrying on the legacy that my dad had. I mean, I carried on the legacy as him as a teacher, my mom as a teacher, and I always connected more with my mom with her baking and her teaching 5th grade, because I taught 5th grade too. But when I moved into the technology department, it was really neat to be able to connect with my own dad, who had been in media for so long, and I was able to call him and ask him questions about news-related stuff. And it's really neat to be able to have that generational connection, and then also carrying that down to my own daughter, Kaylana. I'm really proud of her in the media aspect of things. I'm also proud of her in a lot of her other endeavors. She is a great little cook, and she's always wanting to jump into the kitchen and make food with us and try new things, and that's going to carry on throughout her life and hopefully eventually pass down to her own family someday.
My grandma Christy took that love of baking and helped it grow. She didn't just teach me recipes, she invited me into a tradition, from making chocolate chip cookies together to helping her with Tasty Tuesday episodes. She showed me that baking is more than ingredients. It's about passing something down. On the Walker side of my family, there have been many generations of bakers. And every handwritten recipe and every family gathering is proof that this didn't just start with us.
I've always had an interest in baking and cooking because of my mom. I used to help her when I was a little girl, and I just wanted to learn how to make wonderful food, and she had a saying that it's all about the food. She really, really made holidays special with all the special food, and we've celebrated through the years and use her recipes. I think one of my favorite recipes I make is her cinnamon rolls. She used to make cinnamon rolls and give them to all of her neighbors at Christmas time, and I've carried on that tradition. She passed away in 2012, and that was a really tough year for me. But I decided that maybe I would like to have my own cooking show. I was getting kind of tired of teaching. I've been teaching for over 30 years, and I said, man, I could have my own cooking show. Hi, welcome to another Tasty Tuesday on Christie's A+ Cooking. Today, R is for rolls. Let's get started. So when I retired in 2013, I continued teaching at a local college and community college. I was teaching math, and I was able to actually teach a cooking math class at the New England Culinary Institute before we retired and moved to Idaho Falls. When we moved to Idaho Falls, that's when we decided to start my cooking show, Christie's A+ Cooking, Tasty Tuesday, and my husband Ken was the producer and cameraman, and I came up with an alphabetical theme each week, and I would produce the show would premiere on each Tuesday for the 26 weeks for each season. And Kaylana was able to film Q is for quesadilla, and it has over 5,000 views.
Because I have two guest cooks here, my daughter Lindsay and my granddaughter Kaylana.
And I just want to be like my grandpa. So today, Q is for quesadillas. So what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to lay the tortillas right between like the middle, and then you're going to want to put another one and overlap them.
I have really enjoyed teaching Kaylana how to make my world famous chocolate chip cookies, and she has carried on that tradition. In the year 2000, we had a family reunion, and I had the idea of putting together a Walker family cookbook, and everybody submitted recipes to me, and I created this cookbook with all of our favorite family recipes, and then we digitized it so that we could submit it to more people out in the community and our best friends so that they would have those recipes. And my very first season of Tasty Tuesday, I used most of those recipes. And so that's been a really fun thing that I've done and come about.
I've really enjoyed participating in some of my grandma's YouTube episodes, mixing both of my passions together. Then there's my papa, the reason I ever picked up a camera. When I was younger, we would sit together and watch old news clips and family videos. Those moments sparked my curiosity. They made me wonder how stories are told, how memories are saved, and how a sibling recording can last for generations.
50 years ago, I served as a missionary in South Korea. And during that time, I had an opportunity to take on some of the communications responsibilities of the area where our missionaries served. I, prior to that, wanted to be a doctor, but because I was exposed to the creation of bumper stickers and brochures and television, I became much more interested in the media, arts side of life. And when I came back from that time, as a 21-year-old, I enrolled in college and decided I was going to switch to communications. And in that role, I not only got all the schooling behind me that was necessary for the degree, but was also hired ultimately as the managing editor of the newspaper at the university, which had a daily circulation of 13,000. And that was actually more circulation per day than the local community newspaper. Had a staff of 60 that worked with me, and it was an incredible experience of managerial background in communications, as well as creating stories themselves, which of course I had to do. It was just a little bit after that, when I went into graduate school, that I went into the promotional side of a PBS station that was near there, and got to see the promoted aspects of television. And that was an eye-opener, to be sure. So by the time I graduated from graduate school, I had seen and participated in virtually all aspects of print journalism, as well as the promotion of television. And that's how it got all started. After that, I went on to be a television reporter for 2 local stations where I lived, an ABC affiliate and an NBC affiliate.
To gain federal funds may result in serious penalty. Although 98% of those eligible for draft registration nationwide have done so, there still may be those who do not comply with the law and may find themselves unable to receive financial aid from the government, despite the vigorous efforts of such groups as the ACLU.
But I think it kind of harkens back a little bit to my dad. So we're looking now at 3rd and 4th generations of my line of folks that have worked in communications, because he had a live talent program on KID television in Idaho Falls, Idaho in 1954 with my mother. They both worked together to have these entertainment acts. It was live television. There was no recording of it, unfortunately. And all I have is just the sheets of paper that outline who was on which program at which day. And I've often recalled with my mom and him about that experience, and how that led 30 years later for me to then work in television myself. And then ultimately decided to go on to be faculty and teach the things I had learned to do actually in practicality, and taught for 35 years. My granddaughter, Kaylana was actually putting this together, this little documentary, and I'm just so proud of her, because she's carrying on the legacy of not only her grandfather, but her great-grandfather in the communications field, as well as my daughter, Lindsay Lodato, who is a teacher at the school. And I think the personality trait that is cohesive through all of us is just the idea of curiosity. Being curious about everything and asking questions about everything. My wife often tells me that I don't really carry on conversations with people, but rather I interview people, and they just don't know that I'm doing it. And I think looking back over the years, I believe that's probably an accurate representation, but it's all based in that curiosity, and I'm so glad my granddaughter, Kaylana, has that same personality trait.
From Papa, I learned the power of telling stories. From Grandma, I learned how food brings people together. From my mom, I learned to try new things and share them with others. Family traditions don't just stay the same, they grow with each generation. Maybe these aren't just hobbies. Maybe they're the things that make us, us. 3, 2, 1.